You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Israel conducts multiple strikes on Hezbollah's South Beirut stronghold, claims to hit Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the city as troops battled militants near the border. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to call on Sri Lankan President Dissanayake. First high-level engagement between the two sides since new leadership took charge in Colombo. Escalating tension in West Asia hurts global markets. Oil prices surge over 5% following recent attacks. And with an eye on maiden ICC World T20 trophy, Indian women's cricket team all set to take on New Zealand in their opening encounter in Dubai. Beirut was rocked with fresh explosions late on Thursday after Israel conducted multiple strikes on Hezbollah's South Beirut stronghold. Loud blasts have been reported near Beirut's international airport, which borders the suburb of Dahieh, that is Hezbollah's stronghold in the city, and a continuing target for Israeli airstrikes. A source close to Hezbollah said Israel had conducted 11 consecutive strikes on the group's South Beirut stronghold late on Thursday. Israel claimed to have hit Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the city as troops battled terror groups' armed men near the border. Earlier, the Israeli military called on civilians near two buildings in southern Beirut to move away ahead of an air raid. The Israeli Defense Forces on Friday announced that they had killed Mahmoud Yusuf Anisi, a senior terrorist involved in Hezbollah's precision-guided missile manufacturing chain in Lebanon. Also, in a post on social media platform X, the IDF said, and I quote, that Anisi was a key source of knowledge and possessed significant technological abilities in weapons manufacturing. The IDF further said that it will continue to act against the threat posed by Hezbollah. The Israeli military also said that it killed the head of the Hamas network in a strike on West Bank's Tulkarm. Also in a statement, the military identified Hamas operative as Zahi Yasser Abd al-Razek Ofi. The leaders of the G7 have outlined their concern over the deteriorating situation in West Asia. The leaders of the G7 nations in a joint statement expressed deep concern over the deteriorating situation and also condemned in the strongest terms Iran's direct military attack against Israel, which constitutes a serious threat to regional stability. The statement also reaffirmed the group's commitment to the security of Israel and condemned what it called Iran's destabilizing actions throughout West Asia through terrorist proxies and also armed groups. Discussions to avoid escalation in the region have also taken place during the meeting. The G7 leaders called on all regional players to act responsibly and with restraint. Meanwhile, countries ramped up evacuation efforts from Lebanon in view of escalating tension in West Asia. Russia, France, Spain and Greece on Thursday became the latest countries to launch operations to remove nationals from Lebanon since Israel launched ground raids into its neighbor and Iran fired missiles at Israel. Earlier, Germany, Britain, the Netherlands, Japan, Canada and others evacuated their citizens from Lebanon. A 21-year-old woman kidnapped by Islamic State terrorists in Iraq a decade ago was freed from Gaza this week. The Israeli army on Thursday said that troops had freed a Yazidi woman it said had been held in Gaza after being captured by Islamic State group terrorists a decade ago and was then trafficked to Gaza. The Iraqi Foreign Ministry confirmed the woman's return, praising the cooperation between the US and Jordan following more than 4 months of efforts and follow-ups. The girl was handed over to her family on Thursday evening after returning to Iraq Fawzia Sido is a member of the ancient Yazidi religious minority, mostly found in Iraq and Syria, which saw more than 5,000 members killed and thousands more kidnapped in an IS campaign in 2014. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is reportedly set to lead Friday's prayers in Tehran today. Khamenei's public appearance will come at a time when several media reports suggested that he was moved to a secure location inside the country due to increased security concerns. The relocation followed the death of Lebanon's Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike on September 27. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us live for more on the story. Akshay, get us the latest. We tell our viewers that countries have been evacuating their citizens from Lebanon. Is there any word of caution or any advisory that has come in from the MEA? Also, get us more on, how is the situation there flaring up in Lebanon particularly?
Well, Preeti, the situation in Lebanon is not good. It still remains on the boil as far as the operation by Israel is concerned. The Israeli ground troops are present in the southern part of the country. They are continuing with their operations. In fact, yesterday we also saw another round of aerial bombings by Israel as far as central Beirut is concerned. So the situation remains tense. Hezbollah is still present in Lebanon in huge numbers. We have also Iran now being extremely cautious as far as the situation is concerned. Israel continuing with the ground operations clearly show that the country has not stepped back as far as their ground offensive is concerned, despite the barrage of missile attacks that was carried on by Israel. Now, as far as MEA is concerned, the Ministry of External Affairs of India has given a word of caution to Indians traveling to Lebanon or Israel or Iran and has said that all unnecessary travel should be avoided at all costs. The second thing, other countries have also started evacuations from Lebanon and in the other parts of the countries, basically Iran and Israel. We also have the Russian president, the Russian government that has already issued a statement stating that all the Russians who are living in Israel should evacuate the country. So that gives you a sense of the tensions that are still prevailing in the region.
All right. Also, Akshay, help us understand, how do you gauge the tensions and the conflict in West Asia? Because we've seen how Israel has been unrelenting, given the fact that it aims to remove the forces which are against it, be it in Lebanon or be it Hamas. At the same time, we also have airstrikes attacking Israel from Lebanon and also Iran. Put all this together, how is the situation further building up?
Well, so far there are, just a small correction, there are no airstrikes targeting Israel as of now. Neither Iran, but we certainly have aerial operations conducted by Israel in the Lebanese territory. The second part, as far as the situation in West Asia is concerned, many countries that are part of West Asia have already stated their neutrality in this particular conflict. So what it essentially means is that especially the US bases that are in these countries cannot be used for an operation as far as the present tensions between Israel and Iran are concerned. So the situation is extremely volatile in the region. Countries are giving word of caution. Yes, there is omnipresent threat that remains in the region as far as a flare-up is concerned, which only the entire region looks like a tinderbox, and all it needs for one country to match one match again, that's a metaphorical term for any kind of action against another country, and the entire situation can spiral down very, very quickly. So the situation remains tense. The world is extremely cautious, mainly because of the impact that any wide-scale conflict can have, not only on the region, but the global economy as well. Back to you, Preeti.
All right, Akshay, we leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And US President Joe Biden said that he was discussing possible Israeli strikes on Iranian oil sites in retaliation for Tehran's missile barrage on Israel, in comments that quickly sent oil prices spiking.
Do you support Israel striking Iran's oil facilities, sir?
We're in discussion of that. I think that would be a little, anyway.
The escalating conflict in West Asia poses a serious threat to regional stability and the global economy. The Red Sea shipping route, vital for global trade and responsible for about 20% of the world's oil supply, is increasingly at risk, with Brent crude nearing $75 a barrel and predictions of prices potentially soaring to $80 due to heightened tensions. The situation is dire. Investors are reacting, evidenced by declines in markets as uncertainty looms over oil production and also the trade dynamics. Saeed Abrasul Hassan gets us more in this report.
The ongoing conflict in West Asia is escalating, threatening not only regional stability but also the global economy. Recent missiles attacked by Iran on Israel have raised alarms about potential disruptions in vital shipping routes and oil supplies. As tensions flare in the region, the repercussions are being felt far beyond the immediate conflict zone. The Red Sea shipping route, a critical artery for global trade, faces increasing threats from military activities, especially following Iran's missile barrage against Israel. The route accounts for approximately 20% of world's oil supply, with 60% of India's crude oil needs passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Experts warn that any disruption on this route could send oil prices soaring. Oil prices have surged over 5% following the recent attacks, with Brent crude nearing $75 a barrel. Should tensions escalate further, analysts predict prices could spike to $80 or more, complicating recovery efforts for economies already grappling with inflation. Israel's threat to target Iran's oil production infrastructure, including gas and oil rigs, refineries and storage facilities, has heightened markets' concerns about international crude oil supply.
There is now an uncertainty about where is the next target. Energy facilities, critical infrastructures could be the other target. Looking at where the prices will go, definitely it depends on where the destruction would be and how much oil is going to be taken off the market. But historically, we have seen that geopolitical factors, if the impact is not in a larger scale and could be mitigated, is not huge.
Any increase in prices will not only affect inflation but could also strain trade balances. Eurozone government bond yields inches away from multi-month lows on Thursday as markets weighed expectations for European Central Bank interest rate cuts and the escalating conflict in the Middle East. As the conflict unfolds, Indian stock markets are already feeling the strain, with indices like the Sensex and Nifty opening lower on Thursday. Investors typically retreat to safer assets in times of geopolitical uncertainty. As the situation in West Asia develops, all eyes will be on oil markets, trade dynamics, and investor confidence in regions like India. The ripple effects of this conflict could reshape economic landscapes far and wide. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, 78 people die after a ferry capsizes in Lake Kivu in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. We get to the latest in US polls as the presidential contenders continue crisscrossing the states to garner maximum votes. Also, stay with us for a quick weather roundup as people witness weather fury in the US and Asia alike.
This is a golden era of the Indian chess with both the men's and women's team winning gold at the Olympiad. What do you think is driving this incredible success for Indian chess on the global stage right now.
Some level, it was always bound to happen. And India has come very close in some Olympiads, and then they unfortunately couldn't get the gold medal. But this year, I think, was the golden year, and we managed to get it.
How you maintain your focus, your composure during the tournament?
Just try to focus on one thing at a time. Helps me get into the groove, get into the mode. Focusing on the current moment really helps.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get to updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russian forces claim to have intercepted a Ukrainian drone near the town of Kurchatov on Thursday, closer to the Kursk nuclear power plant. While debris caused explosions in a nearby building, there was no damage to the plant. The plant's operator confirmed normal operations with radiation levels remaining safe. However, Ukrainian Foreign Ministry spokesman denied any attacks near the facility. Ukrainian forces have been present in the Kursk region since a surprise incursion in August, despite Russian efforts to push them out. Also, UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi, who visited the plant in August, expressed concern over its vulnerability, noting it lacks a protective dome to guard against potential missile or drone strikes. Ukraine's military commander, General Alexander Syrsky, has ordered reinforcement in the eastern Donetsk region following the withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from Volodar. Also, Syrsky, working with the 25th Sishaslev Airborne Brigade, described the area as one of the hottest front sectors without specifying the exact location. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the loss of Volodar, emphasizing on the priority of saving soldiers' lives by retreating. The Russian-appointed governor of Donetsk acknowledged the town's strategic significance, but noted that reconstruction would take time. After more than 2.5 years of conflict, Ukrainian forces are largely on the defensive. The withdrawal marks a significant moment in the ongoing struggle as Volodar, a coal mining town, remains a key battleground in the region. Meanwhile, the newly appointed NATO chief, Mark Rutte, discussed the conflict in Ukraine with President Zelensky on Thursday in his first foreign visit since becoming the alliance's General Secretary General. Zelensky discussed the battlefield situation and Ukraine's victory plan with the NATO chief, pledging continued support for Kyiv. Rutte vowed to help shore up Western support for Ukraine. He also assured NATO's commitment of making Ukraine its member.
With Ukraine, for your security and for ours. Ukraine is closer to NATO than ever before and will continue on this path until you become a member of our alliance. I very much look forward to that day.
Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said on Thursday that Russia has no intention of negotiating with the United States on nuclear stability unless there are preconditions. Ryabkov said that strategic negotiations for Russia are inseparable from the current military and political situation. According to Ryabkov, these negotiations would not have any sense for Russia as long the US pursues their aim to strategically defeat Russia and undermine its security. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un said that his forces would use nuclear weapons without hesitation if Pyongyang's territory was attacked by the South and its ally, the United States, the state media reported. Kim criticized South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol for threatening to end the North Korean regime at a military day event on Tuesday, saying the comments showed which side was destroying regional security and peace. Kim's statements also refer to the South's alliance with the U.S. as tens of thousands of U.S. troops are stationed in South Korea. North Korea has for decades pursued a nuclear weapons program and is believed to have enough fissile material to build dozens of such weapons. It has conducted 6 underground nuclear detonation tests. At least 78 people have died after a ferry capsized in Lake Kivu in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, just a few hundred meters from its final destination. With 278 passengers on board, the boat was traveling from the town of Minova in South Kivu and sank as it was arriving on Goma's shore on Thursday morning. As U.S. presidential election is just a month away, candidates are making their last-moment pledges to the voters, and voters too are making final assessment for their choice. As polling in some states is already open, the Republican candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump urged voters at a rally in Saginaw, Michigan, to vote early so that they don't change their choice at the last moment. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said on Thursday that if he is elected in November, no state will be able to ban gas-powered trucks or cars.
So you have to tell Lion Kamala that we've had enough, Kamala. We can't take you anymore. We're not going to stand for it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. You're fired. You're fired. Get the hell out of here.
Also, Trump again got a shot in arms on Thursday when the International Association of Firefighters said that it would not make a presidential endorsement. This will be a major blow to Kamala Harris, as they had endorsed Joe Biden in 2019 as a Democratic candidate. The union represents 300,000 career firefighters and emergency responders, and they would be important in the key swing states of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan.
Republicans are saying that that is not our party, that Donald Trump does not represent us, that we have to find a leader that we are proud to vote for to become the president of the United States.
U.S. President Joe Biden undertook a second straight day of visit to the affected states, traveling to Florida on Thursday. Biden made a helicopter survey of the damage and received a briefing and met with storm survivors. Biden also pledged immediate aid packages for people affected by Hurricane Helene during a visit to Valdosta, Georgia. Biden added that he approved Georgia governor's request to cover 100% of the cost for debris removal, emergency protective measures for 3 months. His visit comes on the heels of his trip on Wednesday to North Carolina and South Carolina. Earlier on Wednesday, Biden had directed up to 1,000 active duty troops to help with response and recovery efforts.
Yesterday, I approved Governor Kemp's request for a federal government to cover 100% of the cost for debris removal and emergency protective measures for 3 months, 100%. I must tell you, your senator had a little bit to do with that when he called me beforehand. But all kidding aside, we're doing the same for Florida as well as we're doing for North Carolina. This direct assistance is now being delivered. It's being delivered now directly, with more to come. But folks, this entire project is going to cost billions of dollars, not tens of thousands, not millions, not a billion, billions of dollars, because it goes through so many states. You know, and Congress has an obligation to me, it seems to me, to ensure that states have the resources they need.
6 days after Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida and carved a destructive path through much of the U.S. Southeast, death toll surpassed 200. The latest death toll makes Helene the U.S. mainland's second deadliest tropical storm since 2005, behind Hurricane Katrina. The death toll is expected to rise despite hundreds of rescues across 6 states. Authorities are pursuing search for survivors in remote areas, while aid groups are providing free food and water. Repair crews are struggling to restore power to hundreds of thousands of customers still without electricity. Typhoon Krathon made landfall on Thursday in Taiwan's major port city of Kaohsiung, bringing torrential rains and fierce winds to the island's south. 2 deaths were reported from the affected region and thousands have been evacuated. Schools and businesses remain closed and hundreds of flights have been cancelled. The Meteorological Department has issued strong winds warnings for parts of Kaohsiung and Pingtung. Also across Taiwan, heavy torrential rainfall is forecast with severe downpour expected in some areas. The Taiwan weather authorities warn that due to slow progress of the typhoon, its impact could persist until the weekend. Millions of people across Nepal have been affected by floods caused by monsoon rains. Thousands of families have been forced to flee their homes to escape the floods that have claimed lives, destroyed homes and ruined food stocks. Rescue operations continue following devastating flooding and landslides. The government focuses on assisting stranded families and recovering bodies. Also, the flood situation in the eastern state of Bihar has slightly improved. However, the major rivers Gandak, Kosi, Bagmati and Mahananda are flowing above the danger mark at several places. The government has deployed teams from NDRF and SDRF to help with relief and rescue efforts. Earlier, the Air Force choppers airdropped ration at most affected places. Community kitchens are also being run to provide cooked food to the affected population. Also, the Agriculture Department has started assessment of the damaged crops to provide financial assistance to the flood-hit farmers. Salman Haider is joining us from Patna. Salman, good morning. Now we tell our viewers that the situation is somewhat improving with water levels receding at some places, but then get us more on the evaluation and the assessment of the state government with regard to the agricultural loss that has been done. What is the estimate of the damages and the loss incurred?
Yes, Preeti, the situation has slightly improved, as you said, somewhat eased out, but the plight of the flood-affected people is yet to overcome. So the situation is now that rescue operation is almost complete here, but the plight and penury of the flood-affected people is already there, and the damage caused by the floods, as you see, many houses, thousands of the houses have got damaged or flushed away in the river water. So the damage is vast, and the administration, district administration, as well as the agricultural department is now assessing the damage caused to the crops and properties of the farmers of villages who are residing in these areas, which are already very much flood affected and flood prone areas. So the damage is great, and the relief is somewhat less in the quantity or magnitude. The damage is too much that the concrete houses were damaged, and the in some areas it is reported that the relief material, there is scarcity of relief material in some areas also. And the Air Force yesterday made several sorties to distribute rations there, dry rations. But the situation is still grim, as the sludges and the mud is still there, though the water has receded, the flood water has receded in some areas. But still there is danger of further rising as some rivers adopted the increasing trend there. So the situation is not very conducive and is still grim in some areas. Yes, please.
All right, Salman, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. All right, so that was our correspondent Salman Haider telling us more about the situation in Bihar. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. In a landmark agreement, Britain has agreed to hand over the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. The deal that will allow people displaced decades ago to return home, while London retained the use of important UK-US military base in Diego Garcia. Britain said that the operation of Diego Garcia was protected by the agreement as US President Joe Biden welcomed the deal. California is investigating a possible case of bird flu in a dairy worker who had contact with the infected cattle. Now, according to the health department, the worker had a presumptive positive result to test for bird flu, and the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will do further testing to confirm the finding. Ghana has confirmed its first case of Mpox this year, according to the country's health service. The patient, a young male, is experiencing fever, rash and body pains. Health officials have identified 25 close contacts who are now being monitored. Ghana previously recorded Mpox cases in 2022 and 2023. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal highlights India's transformation into global manufacturing powerhouse at Centre for Strategic and International Studies session. Marking the second day of Navratri, people worship Ma Brahmacharini with devotion and fervour.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. A quick relook at the top stories now. Israel conducts multiple strikes on Hezbollah's South Beirut stronghold, claims to have hit Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the city as troops battled militants near the border. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to call on Sri Lankan President Dissanayake. This is the first high-level engagement between the two sides since new leadership took charge in Colombo. Escalating tension in West Asia hurts global markets. Oil prices surge over 5% following recent attacks. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, delivered the keynote at the CSIS, that is Centre for Strategic and International Studies event on India's evolving manufacturing landscape, and this was held in Washington, D.C. The minister discussed how historic reforms, diversification and also localized supply chains are transforming India into a global manufacturing powerhouse. He also highlighted the Make in India initiative's role in positioning the country as a key beneficiary of shifting global supply chains, presenting great opportunities for investors.
Of working amongst trusted partners, India figures high on the list of most parts of the world. And therefore, I believe that our effort to maintain the manufacturing ecosystem in India, even despite all the challenges we inherited in 2014 and the COVID crisis of 2 years, 2.5 years, the two wars that continue to subsist, threatening to escalate, with the Red Sea crisis having affected our international trade. With all of these challenges, the fact that Indian economy grew by 90% when the world economy grew by about 35% in the last 10 years, and we have maintained our manufacturing share at 17% despite all these challenges inherited and faced in the last 10 years, gives us the courage of conviction and confidence to believe that we can aspire to take Indian manufacturing to about 25%.
Also, Minister Piyush Goyal and U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo co-chaired the India-US CEO Forum in Washington, D.C. Both the leaders held discussions on enhancing cooperation across key sectors, including defense, semiconductor manufacturing, clean energy, space and science, healthcare, and academia-industry partnership. The minister also said that India and the U.S. remain dedicated to strengthening economic ties, promoting growth and collaboration between businesses in both the countries, and also paving the way for a prosperous future. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will pay an official visit to Sri Lanka on Friday, during which he will meet with country's newly elected leadership. Dr. S. Jaishankar will meet President Anura Kumara Dissanayake and Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya. He is also expected to have discussions with his counterpart, Vijitha Herath. Now, the visit underlines the shared commitment of India and Sri Lanka to further deepen the long-standing partnership for mutual benefit. It reaffirmed India's commitment to its neighbourhood first policy and the saga that is security and growth for all in the region outlook. This visit marks the first ever visit by any foreign minister after President Dissanayake assumed office following the country's recent presidential elections. All right, Dr. Ahmed Moin Farooqi joins us from Colombo. Ahmed, good morning. Get us more as to what is on the agenda. This visit is of importance because this is the first visit by the Foreign Minister of India to Sri Lanka, wherein the new regime has taken office. Get us more as to what all can be expected on the agenda.
Good morning, Preeti. Yes, it's not just the first visit of India's External Affairs Minister. It's in fact the first visit by any visiting Foreign Affairs Minister to Sri Lanka after the new government has taken charge. Now, this is a very, critical moment for Sri Lanka as it carves its way out of the economic crisis and it goes ahead with regard to first democratically elected president and government. Now, frankly speaking, India and Sri Lanka bilateral relations have been on a very positive kind of a trajectory, especially under the neighborhood first policy. It was also put in action when Sri Lanka faced the peak of the economic crisis, when India provided humanitarian assistance, which was unprecedented in terms of the scale as well as the quickness with which it was executed and provided for. Now, what is understandable here is that India-Sri Lanka relations will continue to be in the same trajectory that have been over the last 10 years, and even more so with the new government in place. What I have heard so far is that the new government is very keen to work together with India because they have recognized India as a very strategic partner, and that's what even President Dissanayake had mentioned in his inaugural address after he had assumed charge. Now, this is something which is very positive because if we look at the region itself, the Indian Ocean region is something in which huge number of shipments they cross across from the Indian Ocean from one side of the hemisphere to the other side. Now, frankly speaking, this is a very significant region where India has talked several times about the regional security, and this is where India and Sri Lanka will collaborate together on various sectors, including regional security. And probably this is an opportune time when the new government is in place in India and the new government is there in Sri Lanka. They will have discussions how to go ahead with the next 5 years, and probably a roadmap will be also discussed. Although this is still going to be a very short visit by the External Affairs Minister, but quite a lot of discussions are expected because it's of course the new government, and people are hoping that some sort of shape will be given to the India-Sri Lanka bilateral relations over the next 5 years. Preeti.
All right, Ahmed, now this is for the first time that Sri Lanka has got a left president. But before the presidential elections also, he had visited India when he met the External Affairs Minister and also the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval. Put all this together, let us get more from you. How do we expect the relationship to further strengthen, given the concerns India has repeatedly put forward of Sri Lankan airspace and water bodies being used, by China? Put all this together, what is the stance that India looks forward to from Sri Lanka's new presidency?
Preeti, first of all, yes, you're right. India is very serious when it talks about regional security, and whenever the question comes up on use of Sri Lanka's exclusive economic zone, primarily if you talk about the waters, here Sri Lanka had placed a moratorium on visit of any foreign research vessels within the waters, within the exclusive economic zone of Sri Lanka, as well as to its ports. Now that has been enforced, which will be enforced till December this year. Now, apart from this, if we talk about President Disanayake's visit to India earlier this year, he had visited as part of Parliamentary Friendship Association, and that was a visit that was something which was an eye-opener for him as well. He had a visit to various Indian establishments like Amol, basically understanding the Indian cooperatives, and it was a peek into how the Indian model could have a positive impact for Sri Lanka as well. And today's visit is something which probably will go in the same continuity with regard to what had happened earlier this year. The meeting of Dr. Jaishankar with President Dissanayake will probably continue where they had left in February this year. Now, this is something which is very positive. However, I would also like to say, although this is the first time that a leftist government is in place, but they have also always mentioned that they will look into how to work together with India for sharing for the shared mutual benefits. And they have reiterated several times that the Indian interests will be paramount for even Sri Lanka as well. In fact, when the High Commissioner of India, Mr. Santosh Jha, he had met President Desainaika on 2 occasions already so far. The same thing was discussed between them, and it was highlighted and it was brought out by the President Desainaika. And something similar is expected even in today's meetings as well.
All right, Emma, thank you for joining in with those details.
Thank you.
And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Pohra Devi Shrine in Washim district of Indian state of Maharashtra on Saturday. Our correspondent Yogesh Sheetal gets us more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to Washim and perform darshan at Jagdamba Mata Temple in Pohra Devi. The PM will also pay tribute to Samadhis of Sant Sevalal Maharaj and Sant Ramrao Maharaj in Washim. Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Banjara Virasat Museum, celebrating the rich heritage of the Banjara community in Maharashtra.
Pohra Devi Shrine is of great religious significance for Banjara community, and it is believed that this is the Kashi of Banjaras. Narendra Modi has always been close to this community even before he took charge as the Prime Minister of India.
Pohra Devi, located at Manora Tehsil of Washim, is considered to be the most sacred shrine of the Banjara community. Prime Minister will also hold a mega rally. In line with his commitment to empower farmers, the PM will disperse 18th installment of the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, worth about 20,000 crore rupees to around 9.4 crore farmers. Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation more than 7,500 projects under the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Further, Prime Minister will dedicate 5 solar parks with a total capacity of 19 megawatts across Maharashtra under the Mukhyamantri Saur Krishi Vahini Yojana 2.0. Banjara community's glorious history of fight against oppression has been well documented, and Prime Minister Modi has highlighted it on various occasions.
Narendra Modi had started his political campaign for 2014 general election from Washim Yavatmal constituency. Now this time, he will address a gathering as a 3-time Prime Minister. Now, coming to Banjara community, out of 288 assembly constituencies, 35 are quite sensitive when it comes to the voters from Banjara community. And that's the reason this rally will play a quite important role ahead of Maharashtra assembly election. With my colleague Ram Dhankar, I am YK Sheetal from Maharashtra for DD India.
The North Indian state of Haryana is all set to go to polls on Saturday to elect its 90-member state legislative assembly. The Election Commission of India has made elaborate arrangements for smooth conduct of the polls. Voting will take place from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday to decide the fate of over 1,000 candidates. Counting of votes will be held on October 8th, with election results being declared the same day. All right, a quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. AIIMS Mangalagiri has successfully launched kidney transplant program by completing 3 live-related kidney transplant surgeries within a span of 1 month. Now, this milestone marks a crucial step forward in providing advanced healthcare services. Uttarakhand Tourism has launched Mount Kailash Darshan from Indian territory. Now pilgrims can witness Mount Kailash from Old Lipulek Peak along with Om Parvat. The first batch of pilgrims started on Gandhi Jayanti, that is October 2nd, and they witnessed the majestic Mount Kailash on October 3rd. Devotees throng temples across the country on the second day of Shardiya Navratri festival to offer prayers and seek blessings. On the auspicious second day of Navratri, special worship and devotion is offered to Ma Brahmacharini as one of the avatars of Goddess Durga. Wetlands are called the kidneys of the landscape and provide rich food chain which makes them a biological supermarket. They purify water, protect shorelines and recharge groundwater. However, 35% of world's wetlands is lost in the last 50 years and we need to take steps to protect them. The 12th CMS Vatavaran International Film Festival on Environment and Wildlife takes stock and also celebrates the wetlands for our future. DD India's Anil Thomas has the details.
The first week of October is celebrated as the World Wildlife Week. Wildlife and wetlands are 2 sides of the same coin. The 12th CMS Vatavaran International Film Festival and Forum on Environment and Wildlife with the theme Wetlands for Life deliberates on celebrating wetland for a common future.
We are also celebrating Wildlife Week. So this coincidence is valuable because wetlands are not only connected to us, but wetlands are connected to the wildlife.
The film festival focuses on steps taken to safeguard and create awareness about the dangers of losing wetlands and its impact on climate change.
35% of the world's wetlands have been lost in the last 50 years. India's wetlands too are under significant pressure from the human activities. Yet these obstacles can be overcome. Together as a nation, we have the power and responsibility to rise to the occasion.
The festival was launched on World Wetlands Day in February this year in Madhya Pradesh, followed by events in Lucknow and Shimla. The finale in Delhi has over 2,705 participants.
In the 12th edition, we got 800 films from 70 countries and 21 states of India. All these films were reviewed in a three-tier process. First process was done by CMS, and the second, 60 were shortlisted and given to the nomination. And the nominated films were then again given to another panel of experts who looked at and gave some awards. All the nominated films will be shown at the festival.
Wetlands are more than just swamps. They are vibrant ecosystem that support diverse life and livelihoods.
I'm very happy with the progress, especially this project is one of our long-standing cooperation. It's part of the Green and Sustainable Development Partnership between India and Germany, and this is extremely important for us.
A painting competition was held alongside the film festival. School children and youth participate to gain real-life experience.
The idea behind is just to sensitize the students towards the environment, towards the wetland, forest, like how can we conserve our forests, because they have chapters related to forests, related to climate change, and how can we find out the solutions for the same.
India is home to over 7,57,000 diverse wetlands covering 15.3 million hectares. This Wetlands for Life festival showcases remarkable films and discussions on Indian wetlands, highlighting their biodiversity, ecosystem services, and conservation efforts. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, US port strike suspended till January after a tentative deal between the union and the port operators. Pakistan beat Sri Lanka by 31 runs in their opening game of ICC Women's T20 World Cup.
India is one of the countries most affected by the impacts of climate change. So what can be the solution, and can children become a part of the solution?
We show a picture of the amla berry, for example, and discuss their nutritional value. In this way, they begin to understand the value of different fruits and vegetables, and that's when they realize why it's important to eat these things.
If we convert this 120 million ton that we see into biochar, we see about roughly about 350 million tons of CO2 emission reduction.
We can cultivate and use in a responsible way, and maybe how small-scale community enterprises could start to use it as a way to support their local economy.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get to updates from the world of business. Now, US dock workers will return to work after a 3-day strike at East and Gulf Coast ports after the union and port operators reached a tentative deal. On Thursday evening, the two sides announced in a joint statement that they had reached a tentative agreement on wages and have agreed to extend the master contract until January 15th next year. The tentative agreement is for a wage hike of around 62% over 6 years. The workers' union had been seeking a 77% raise, while the employer group previously raised its offer to a nearly 50% hike. The International Longshoremen's Association had launched a work stoppage early on Tuesday after negotiations with the United States Maritime Alliance, which represents shipping companies and terminal operators, came to an impasse. The strike, which involved 45,000 workers, paralyzed 36 ports from Maine to Texas. Sri Lanka plans to move ahead with a third review of its nearly $3 billion program for support from the International Monetary Fund. Sri Lanka's new president, Dissanayake, urged the IMF on Thursday to consider alternative means to continue with a $2.9 billion bailout that aided the island nation in the wake of a sovereign default. In his first face-to-face meeting with IMF representatives in Colombo, Dissanayake said that he wanted to reduce taxes on lower income groups. Dissanayake told the IMF that he wanted to continue with the 4-year program, which requires the government to reform loss-making state enterprises and improve governance. Up next, we get you updates from the world of sports. With an eye on maiden ICC World T20 trophy, Indian women's cricket team is all set to take on New Zealand in their opening encounter on Friday in Dubai. Harmanpreet Kaur's side has come into the tournament ranked third in the world and having reached at least the semi-finals of the last 3 editions.
With an eye on maiden World T20 trophy, Indian women's cricket team is all set for the 9th edition of the ICC T20 World Cup starting on October 3 in UAE. Led by Harmanpreet Kaur, the Indian team boasts of star players in their lineup: Smriti Mandhana, Jemimah Rodriguez and Renuka Thakur along others, adding to the firepower. India has seen a rather quiet build-up with no international matches for nearly 2 months before the showpiece event. The national team was last in action in the T20 Asia Cup final against Sri Lanka, but lost the marquee clash largely due to poor fielding and struggles against Spain. India arrived at its 15-member squad after months of significant tinkering. This involved workload management, motivated rotations, and trial and error with players of promise based on current form. The major problem for Indian women's team is that they have been unable to cross the final hurdle, be it the 2017 50-over World Cup or 2020 T20 World Cup final or 2022 Commonwealth Games final. Grouped alongside the White Ferns, defending champions Australia, reigning Asia Cup champion Sri Lanka and Pakistan, India will start their campaign under the lights on October 4 against New Zealand in Dubai. They then take on arch rivals Pakistan on October 6. They play Sri Lanka on October 9, while they last face Australia on October 13. India have participated in all 8 editions of the T20 World Cup but have never won the title. In 2009 and 2010, India was ousted in the semi-finals, while in 2012, 2014 and 2016, India could not go past the first round. In 2018 and 2023, India reached the semi-finals but could not go through to the final, and in 2020, India lost in the final. The women in blue have been among the better teams in recent times, but they are yet to lay their hands on the trophy. With tough competition ahead of them, India is set to go for glory and would want to clinch their maiden World Cup title. The wound of their semi-final exit in the 2023 edition is still fresh, and this year's tournament presents the perfect opportunity for retribution. If India can maintain composure and execute their plans effectively, this could finally be their year to lift the coveted T20 World Cup trophy. Sports Desk, DD India.
Pakistan staged a determined fight back to beat Sri Lanka by 31 runs in their opening game of the Women's T20 World Cup campaign in Sharjah on Thursday. Fatima Sana's side defied the form to beat the Asian Cup champions by 31 runs, posting 116 in the first innings and then bowling superbly to restrict Sri Lanka to 85 for 9. Pakistan's captain Sana made the crucial early breakthrough to remove Sri Lanka opener Chamari Atapattu and also give hope that her side would successfully defend a relatively modest first innings total. And her fellow bowlers kept things impressively tight, denying Sri Lanka boundaries and also picking up frequent wickets as the scoring card soared. The World Cup will see 23 matches held in a total of 18 days, with all matches in the 2 host cities of Dubai and Sharjah. World Football's governing body FIFA on Thursday gave no verdict either way on a Palestinian request to suspend Israel, but instead launched an investigation into allegations of discrimination. The Palestinian Football Association called for its Israeli counterpart to be suspended and for Israeli teams to be banned from FIFA competitions at FIFA's Congress in Bangkok this year. The PFA claims that the Israel Football Association has broken FIFA discrimination rules. At the organization's headquarters in Zurich on Thursday, the FIFA Council decided that its disciplinary committee would be mandated to investigate the alleged offense of discrimination, raised by the PFA. Soccer's player transfer system will be in the spotlight and could even be on the brink of collapse when the Court of Justice of European Union on Friday will announce its ruling on former France player Lassana Diarra's case against FIFA. Diarra has claimed that FIFA's transfer rules had blocked him from moving to a new club after his contract was terminated by Lokomotiv Moscow in 2014. FIFA's regulations state that if a player breaches his contract, which is then terminated by the club, his new team is jointly liable with the player to pay compensation to his old one, which happened when Sholwa attempted to sign Diarra. However, FIFA refused to issue an international transfer certificate, effectively preventing Sholwa from registering Diarra. Symbio Wildlife Park in Australia's New South Wales has announced the birth of a rare albino wallaby joe from two red-necked wallaby parents. Zookeepers quickly named him Olaf due to his snow-like appearance. According to the park authorities, 1 in every 17,000 animals is known to exhibit the genetic condition. Life expectancy for a red-necked wallaby living in the wild is around 12 to 13 years. However, Olaf will remain at Symbio and could live up to the age of 15, the authorities added. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.